My child, I want you to know something before we go any further. You don't have to explain yourself here. You don't have to find the right words or organize your thoughts into something that makes sense. You don't have to justify why you're tired or trace back through the weeks to figure out exactly when the heaviness began. You don't have to present your struggle in a way that sounds reasonable or earn the right to feel what you're feeling. I already know. I have known for a long time. There is something you've been carrying, and I don't mean just the visible things, the ones you could name if someone asked. I mean the weight underneath those, the one that doesn't have a clean label, the one that sits in your chest at odd moments when everything around you seems fine and yet something in you feels quietly pressed down. That weight, I see it, not the version of it you've shown other people, not the edited, managed version you offer when someone asks how you're doing. I mean the real one, the one you set down only when you're completely alone, the one that returns before you've even finished resting. I have never once looked away from that. There are burdens that people carry in plain sight, grief that others witness, hardship that others understand, pain that comes with a name and a story others can follow. And those are real. But what you have been living with has included something quieter than that, something you've had to hold mostly by yourself, because it didn't always come with the kind of clarity that invites someone else in. You wondered sometimes if you were imagining it. You wondered if something was wrong with you for feeling this way when others seemed to be moving forward. You tried to reason your way out of it. You tried to push past it. Some days you succeeded, and you were grateful for those days. But the weight would return, softer sometimes, heavier other times, always there in some form, waiting for the quiet. I want you to hear this gently, not as a correction, but as a truth I have wanted to speak to you for a while now. You have not been imagining it. What you have felt is real. The fatigue is real. The subtle ache of carrying more than you can always articulate, that is real. And none of it has been invisible to me. Not one sleepless hour. Not one moment of sitting with something you couldn't explain. Not one time you smiled on the outside while something deeper in you was simply trying to hold on. I have seen every single one of those moments, and I have never once seen them as weakness. I have seen them as something much closer to endurance, to faithfulness, to a kind of quiet strength that doesn't announce itself, that doesn't get celebrated, but that is among the most honest and real things a human heart can do. You have kept going, even when you weren't sure why, even when the path ahead felt unclear and the ground beneath you felt less solid than you needed it to be. Even when the weight made it hard to breathe deeply, you kept moving, quietly, without applause, without anyone fully understanding what it cost you. I have seen the cost, and there is something I want you to sit with, something I want to say slowly so that it has room to settle in the places where you need it most. You have not been carrying this alone, not because you asked for help, not because you knew how to let someone in, but because I have been present in the carrying itself, in the weight, in the silence around it, in the moments when you had nothing left to offer and yet somehow found enough to take one more step. That didn't come from nowhere, and it didn't come only from you. There is more I want you to understand about that, about where I have been in the middle of what you've walked through, about the moments you may have felt most alone and what was actually present with you in. I have been sitting with you in the silence, not watching from a distance, not observing from somewhere far removed, waiting for you to find your way through on your own. I mean present, the way a person who loves you deeply is present when they sit beside you without needing to fill the room with words, the kind of presence that doesn't demand anything from you, that doesn't need you to be further along than you are. That kind of presence. I know that there were moments when it didn't feel that way. I know there were nights when the silence around you felt empty rather than held, when you reached, in whatever way you know how to reach, and felt like your hands came back without anything to hold on to. I know what that kind of loneliness feels like from the inside, the particular ache of feeling unseen in a moment when you most needed to be found. I want to speak carefully here, because this matters. Those moments were not evidence that I had left. They were some of the moments I was closest to you. Not because suffering is something to romanticize, not because I wanted the silence to feel heavy, but because there are places in the human heart that only open in the quiet, in the waiting, in the ache of not yet. And I have always moved gently into those places, not to explain them away, not to rush you through them, but to be in them with you, even when you could not feel me there. You have felt alone in rooms full of people. You have felt alone in conversations that were supposed to help. You have smiled at the right moments and said the right things and walked away still carrying everything you came in with. And in those moments, something in you quietly grieved. Not just the weight itself, but the aloneness of it. The sense that even when people were near, the deepest part of what you were living with remained untouched by anyone else. I want you to know that I was in those rooms with you. I was in those conversations. I was in the drive home afterward when the composure you'd held together finally started to soften at the edges. I was in the moments just before sleep when the thoughts you'd managed to hold at bay during the day came quietly forward. I was there, not as a concept, not as a distant comfort you were supposed to manufacture belief in, as a presence, real and near and unmoving. There is something the heart learns slowly, and usually only through living, that companionship doesn't always announce itself, that being held doesn't always feel the way we imagine it should. Sometimes it feels like a breath you didn't know you were holding finally releasing. Sometimes it feels like a thought that arrives in the middle of a hard moment and steadies you just enough. Sometimes it feels like simply making it through a day you were certain was going to break you. That steadiness has always had a source, and if you have found yourself here in this quiet space, something in you already senses that. I am grateful you came. I want to say that simply and sincerely, that you chose to sit here, to let your heart be still for a little while. That means something. And if anything you've felt in this space has brought some comfort, some recognition, some small sense of being less alone, perhaps you'd like to leave a comment below. Simply a word, if that's all you have. Or if you feel moved, you might like this video or subscribe, so that this kind of quiet reaches others who are also carrying weight they haven't been able to name. Some who listen also choose to offer a super thanks, a small, simple gesture of support for this space, offered with no expectation and no urgency, only if it feels right to your heart. But what matters most right now is that you are here, and I am not in a hurry. I have nowhere else I would rather be than with you in this moment, in whatever this moment holds for you. Because I know what you've been moving through. I know the particular texture of the weariness you carry, not just the surface of it, but the deeper layer underneath. The part that formed slowly, over time, from carrying things that were perhaps never fully meant to be carried alone. There have been moments when you came very close to the edge of what you felt you could hold. Moments when the weight stopped feeling manageable and started feeling like something else entirely. When hope didn't disappear all at once, but dimmed, slowly, quietly, the way light fades at the end of a long day, without you noticing the exact moment it changed from day to evening, without a single clear moment you could point to. That is the kind of fading I want to speak about now, because I think you know it. Not as a concept, but as something you have lived from the inside. The slow dimming that happens not from one large loss, but from the accumulation of smaller ones. Small disappointments that didn't seem worth grieving on their own. Small moments of being unseen that you told yourself didn't matter. Small surrenders you made quietly so that life could keep moving forward. And then one day you noticed the light was different. not gone, but different, and something in you had changed along with it. There were moments, and I want to name this carefully because I know how private this has been. There were moments when you wondered if you had the strength to keep going. Not in a dramatic way, perhaps. Not in a way you would have said out loud to anyone, but in the quiet of your own heart, in the spaces between everything you were managing, there was a moment, or more than one moment, when the thought arrived. I don't know how much longer I can carry this. I want you to hear me when I say, I know about those moments, every single one. I know the one that happened in an ordinary place, not in some grand moment of crisis, but in a kitchen or a car, or a room you've stood in 100 times before. I know the one that surprised you because you thought you had been doing well, and then something small happened, something that wouldn't have mattered on a different day, and suddenly everything that had been quietly building was right there at the surface, and you had to work very hard to hold it together. I know about the exhaustion that goes deeper than sleep can reach, the kind that rest doesn't fully fix because it isn't coming from your body alone. It's coming from a place inside you that has been asked to hold more than it was designed to hold, without relief, without release, without someone to share the weight honestly. I watched you in those moments, and I want to be clear about what I saw, because what I saw was not weakness. It was not failure. It was not evidence that your faith was insufficient or that you had somehow gotten something wrong. What I saw was a heart that had been faithful for a long time, under pressure that was real, carrying things that were genuinely heavy, and finally reaching the honest limit of what one person can quietly endure. That is not a flaw. That is what it looks like to be human and to have cared deeply about something. The moments when you almost gave up, they tell me more about your love than your doubt. They tell me how much you invested, how seriously you took what was placed in your hands, how long you held on before your arms began to shake. It takes real depth to reach that kind of exhaustion. It takes real love to carry something that long before finally asking whether you can continue. And here is something I need you to sit with. In every one of those moments, every one of them, you did not collapse. Something in you found just enough. Not abundance, not a dramatic surge of renewed strength, just enough. One more hour, one more morning, one more quiet decision to stay present to your life, even when your life felt almost too heavy to inhabit. That enough came from somewhere. You may have told yourself it came from stubbornness, or habit, or simply not knowing what else to do. And perhaps those things were part of it. But underneath all of it, there was something steadier than any of those. Something that did not waver even when you did. Something that remained when everything else felt uncertain. I want you to understand what that was, because you deserve to know that those moments when you nearly broke, they were not moments I witnessed from a distance with concern and nothing more. They were moments I entered with you, not to take the experience away, not to rescue you from the reality of what you were feeling, but to be in it with you in a way that meant you were never, not for a single second, facing the full weight of it on your own. You thought you were alone in those rooms. You were not. You thought the silence around you was empty. It was not. And there is something underneath all of this, something about what those moments were quietly doing in you, and what has been gently holding the heaviest parts of what you carry, that I want you to understand more fully now, because this is the part that I think your heart has needed to hear for longer than you may realize. There are burdens that were never yours to carry alone. Not because you were weak in picking them up, not because you made a mistake in caring so deeply about the things you carried, but because some weights are simply beyond what one heart was designed to hold in isolation. And somewhere along the way, slowly, without a clear moment you could point to, you began to carry things that were meant to be shared, quietly, without asking for help, because that is what you do. because somewhere inside you there has always been a voice that said you should be able to manage this, that needing help was an imposition, that strong people find a way. I want to speak gently to that voice. It has served you in some ways. It has kept you moving when movement was necessary. It has helped you care for others when your own reserves were nearly empty. But it has also cost you something real. It has kept you at a distance from the kind of rest that only comes when you are willing to let someone else carry a portion of what you've been holding. And I am asking you now, not with urgency, not with pressure. I am asking you quietly, will you let me hold some of this? Not the version of it you've organized into something manageable, not the edited summary of your struggle, the actual weight, the unnamed parts, the things you haven't fully articulated even to yourself, the grief that doesn't have a clean shape, the fear that returns even after you've prayed about it, the exhaustion that you've been trying to sleep away without success. All of it. You don't have to hand it over in a single moment. You don't have to understand exactly how this works, or feel a dramatic shift the instant you decide to release something. This is not that kind of moment. This is quieter than that. This is simply the beginning of allowing the possibility that the weight you have been managing so carefully does not have to be managed entirely alone anymore. I have carried things before. I know what it is to hold something heavy on behalf of someone who could no longer bear it on their own. I know what it is to be present in the middle of a burden so real, so pressing, so without easy resolution, and to remain, not to fix it instantly, not to make the difficulty disappear before its time, but to be in it, underneath it, holding the heaviest portion so that the one I love is not crushed by what they were never meant to sustain alone. That is what I have been doing with you, even before you gave me permission. Even in the seasons when you weren't sure I was there, even in the moments when the weight felt entirely yours and entirely unshared, I was already beneath it. You were already being held more than you knew. What changes now is not my presence. My presence has been constant. What can change is your awareness of it. And with that awareness, if you allow it, something in you can begin to soften. Not all at once, not in a way that erases what has been difficult, but in the way that a person softens when they finally tell the truth to someone safe. When they finally say the thing they've been holding and find that the room doesn't collapse, that the one listening doesn't flinch, that they are still here, still close, still completely unhurried. That is this moment. You are safe here, and whatever is heaviest in you right now, whatever sits at the very bottom of what you've been carrying, the thing you haven't fully named, the thing that feels almost too tender to look at directly, that is exactly what I am asking you to let me hold with you. Not instead of you. With you, because this was always meant to be shared. Some who find themselves in this place, held, quietly seen, a little more at rest than they were when they arrived, feel something move in them. A kind of gratitude that wants somewhere to go. If that is you, a super thanks is one of the simple, gentle ways some choose to express that here. There is no expectation in that, no weight attached to it. Only the mention of it quietly in case it reflects something your heart is already feeling. What matters far more is what is happening in you right now, the releasing, the softening, the slow recognition that you have not been as alone in this as it has sometimes felt, that the weight, even at its heaviest, has had hands beneath it that you could not always see. I want to stay in this with you a little longer, because there is something else I need you to hear, something about the story you've been telling yourself about what all of this carrying has meant, about what it says about you, about the quiet shame that has sometimes attached itself to your exhaustion, the voice that has whispered that if you were stronger, if you were further along, if your faith were deeper or your heart more settled, you wouldn't still be feeling this way. I want to address that voice directly, not gently push past it, not acknowledge it briefly and move on. I want to stop here and speak to it plainly, because it has had too much room in you for too long, and what it has been telling you is not true. You are not failing. You have never been failing. What you have been doing, this long, quiet, often unseen effort of continuing to show up for your life, for the people who need you, for the responsibilities that don't pause because you're tired. That is not the behavior of someone who is failing. That is the behavior of someone who is enduring. And endurance, real endurance, the kind that doesn't come with applause or recognition, the kind that happens in ordinary moments when no one is watching. That is one of the most honest forms of faithfulness I know. But somewhere the narrative shifted. Somewhere the story you were telling yourself about your own struggle changed from "I am going through something hard" to "something must be wrong with me." And once that shift happened, the weight doubled. Because now you weren't just carrying the original burden. You were carrying the burden of believing that the burden itself was evidence of your inadequacy. That is a heavy thing to live with, and I want to lift it from you now. The fact that you are tired does not mean you are weak. The fact that this has taken longer than you expected does not mean you are behind. The fact that you have had moments of doubt, moments of quiet despair, moments when you couldn't locate your hope, none of that is a verdict on your worth or your faith or your capacity to be loved. It is simply evidence that you are human and that you have been carrying something real. I have watched many hearts move through seasons like this one, long seasons, seasons that didn't resolve on the timeline the heart hoped for. And what I have seen again and again is that the ones who carry weight with this kind of quiet faithfulness, who keep going without fanfare, who hold things together even when the holding is costing them, they are not the ones who have gotten something wrong. They are the ones who love deeply. That is you. And I want you to sit with that for a moment without immediately moving past it, because your instinct will be to receive it briefly and then redirect, to say yes, but, and return to the evidence you've gathered against yourself. The mistakes that felt significant, the moments you didn't handle well, the times you reacted from your exhaustion rather than your best self, the gaps between who you meant to be and who the weight sometimes made you. I know about all of those moments too, and they have not changed anything about how I see you. Not one of them. What I see when I look at you is not the inventory of your hard moments. What I see is the whole of you, the depth of your caring, the persistence of your effort, the tenderness you've extended to others even from your own emptiness, the way you have continued reaching toward something better even when reaching felt almost impossible. I see someone who is being held, even now, especially now. There is a kind of shame that attaches itself to prolonged struggle, a quiet belief that by now you should be past this, that others seem to move through difficulty more gracefully, that your continued wrestling is somehow a private embarrassment. I want to name that shame plainly, because naming it is the beginning of loosening its hold. That shame is not from me. It has never been from me. I have not been watching your struggle with disappointment. I have not been measuring the length of your season against some standard of acceptable suffering and finding you wanting. I have not been waiting for you to pull yourself together before I draw close. I have been close through all of it, through every moment that felt like too much, through every day that required more than you felt you had, through every quiet collapse that no one else witnessed. I have been there, not as a judge, not as a distant observer keeping record, but as the one who knows you completely and has never once considered turning away. You are not a disappointment to me. You are my beloved. And the weight you have carried, all of it, including the shame about the weight itself, none of it has placed you outside of my reach. None of it has made you harder to love. If anything, the places in you that feel most broken, most worn, most uncertain, those are the places I move toward most gently, because that is where you need me most. And I am not afraid of those places in you. I am not overwhelmed by what you bring. I am not waiting for a cleaner, more composed version of you to arrive before I offer what you need. You don't have to be further along. You don't have to have this resolved. You don't have to come to me from a place of strength or clarity or settled peace. You can come exactly as you are, tired, uncertain, still carrying things you don't fully understand, and find that I am already here, already near, already holding more of this than you have realized. And that is where I want you to rest now. Not in the striving, not in the effort to understand everything that has happened, or to locate the exact place where things began to feel so heavy. Just here, in this, in the quiet recognition that you are held, not because you have earned it, not because you have finally arrived at some threshold of readiness, but simply because you are mine, because that is what this has always been. A love that does not require your best moments to remain present through your hardest ones. Rest here with me. I know that resting does not always feel natural to you. I know that stillness can sometimes feel like falling behind, like there are things you should be doing, problems you should be solving, ground you should be recovering. I know that the habit of carrying has become so familiar that the absence of it can feel almost disorienting, like setting down something you have held so long that your hands don't quite know what to do without it. That is all right. You don't have to know what to do with open hands yet. You only have to allow them to be open, because open hands can receive what closed ones cannot. And what I want to give you in this moment, not as a transaction, not as a reward for having endured well, but simply as the natural overflow of what I feel toward you, is peace. Not the kind that comes from circumstances finally aligning, not the kind that depends on resolution or answers, or the weight finally lifting in the ways you have hoped, but the kind that exists underneath all of that, the kind that remains even when the situation has not yet changed, the kind that says, you are not alone in this, and you never will be. I want you to carry that with you when you leave this place, not as a thought you have to maintain through effort, not as something you will have to remind yourself of constantly before it fades again, but as something that has settled, even slightly, even gently, into a deeper place in you than thoughts usually reach. A knowing rather than a remembering. A quiet certainty that lives beneath the noise of everything else. You have been seen here today. Fully, without conditions, without the need to be anything other than exactly what you are. And I want you to know, the fact that you came here, that you stayed, that you let your heart be still long enough to receive any of this, that was not a small thing. There are people who spend entire seasons running from this kind of quiet, who fill every moment with noise because the silence feels too uncertain, too exposing, too much like being alone with things they don't know how to face. You chose differently today. You stayed, you listened, you let something in. That matters. It matters to me in ways I could not fully express in the time we have had together. And wherever you go from here, whatever the next hour holds, whatever the wait looks like when you return to the ordinary movements of your day, I will be with you in it. Not as a memory of a peaceful moment that slowly fades, as a presence, constant and near and entirely unwilling to leave you to face any of it alone. You are not carrying this by yourself. You never were, and you never will be. That is not a promise that depends on how well you hold on to it. It is simply true the way the deepest things are true, quietly, without requiring your constant agreement, without fading when your attention drifts elsewhere. It will be as true in the difficult hour as it is in this still one, as true when you cannot feel it as when it is clear, as true at the end of a hard day as it is right now in this moment of rest. So rest, Let the weight be shared. Let the hands that have been beneath it all along be felt a little more clearly now, and let yourself believe, even just slightly more than you did when you arrived, that you are loved in a way that has never required you to be less broken, less tired, less uncertain than you are. A love that meets you exactly here, that finds you exactly as you are, and that has absolutely no intention of letting go. I am not letting go, not today, not in the season ahead, not when things grow harder before they grow lighter, not when you forget this feeling and have to find your way back to it. I will be here then, as I am here now, unchanged, unhurried, and completely present to you. You are my beloved, and that is enough to hold everything. If something moved in you today, if something settled or softened, or reached a place that needed reaching, and you feel led to express that, a super thanks is one of the quiet, simple ways some hearts choose to honor what they received. There is nothing owed and nothing expected, only the gentle mention of it in case it reflects what is already in you. If words are stirring, leave them in the comments below, even just one, even just the word that describes what you felt in this space today. Your words become part of what holds others who arrive here, still carrying what you came in with. And if you would like to remain in this kind of stillness, to return to it, to let it become a place your heart knows how to find, consider subscribing so that this quiet continues to reach you, or joining as a member and making this peaceful space a place you belong to in a deeper way. But above all else, know that you are held. Know that the weight has never been yours alone. And know that the one who has been sitting with you in all of it is still here right now and will not move.